This will be a day long remembered. Now I am the master.
Welcome to another episode of Legends and Theories, and welcome to my review of Crisis on Infinite Earths, the episode of the Flash Marathon, and Arrow's final two episodes, Green Arrow and the Canaries, and Fadeout. And I'm choosing to do those three because they feel like they are kind of, the epilogues to Crisis, and with Oliver's sacrifice and everything, I think they're appropriate to do with this. And let's begin with looking at Crisis on Infinite Earths, parts 1 through 3, which is Batwoman. This was with Supergirl, season 5? Yeah, it'd be season 5. It's the season behind the Flash. So it's season 5, episode 9, followed by Batwoman, season 1, episode 9, and the Flash, season 6, episode 9. And this part was a very interesting start. It began with a pretty hard start for everyone in the universe. It was pretty interesting, which had the destruction of Earth 38 and the first death of Oliver Queen. And that was a very interesting and strong start to this crossover. I really enjoyed it, and to see these heroes try to save Earth 38 but ultimately fail was very tragic to the people who this is the home universe of, including Supergirl, Martian Manhunter, Superman, Lois, and more. But it was also very intense to see a future version of Oliver who never got to see Sarah return, where she actually does die in the Gambit in Star City 2040. We see her, go with him and get a final thing where she thanks Oliver. Well, says that she not only thanks him, but says that she's glad she got on the Gambit with him, which is a nice conclusion to all of that. And her, I think, finally saying it out loud and saying that put her on such a great path to have all these amazing things that she truly loves to have now, and all the bad things that happened and led to her getting a life she loves. And I think that's definitely a great thing to happen, and it was something very necessary to have part 2, which out of all of them I think is maybe the weakest episode out of them, but it does have some fun stuff in it, including Kevin Conroy playing a crazed Bruce Wayne, and Lex Luthor going on a Superman killing spree. But both, I think, were pretty interesting. And of course it also had Barry, Mia, and Sarah, with the help of Constantine, trying to bring back Oliver by putting him in a Lazarus pit. And that was also a nice, small side story. And it makes sense that they want to bring back Oliver. And I think that one was, maybe not the best one of them. And I kind of wish that, for the fun of it, instead of having Batwoman be one of the Paragons, especially since, she left the show after the first season, I think it would have been so fun if they were doing bad in the future to do something kind of nice for the fans and give them a version of Terry McGinnis, so they didn't necessarily have to use the Bruce Wayne, but that would have been fun to see. And honestly, that's what I was expecting kind of when I saw it. They said Back to the Future, and I was thinking Batman Beyond. And with it being Kevin Conroy, I was thinking, ooh, maybe. But sadly, it wasn't. And going over the references in these two, I think the only potential mistake is in the '89 universe. It says Batman is fighting the Joker, and the Joker dies in Batman, the '89 movie. But who knows, maybe it could be a new person taking up the Joker's identity, or maybe he survived after all. But either way, that's just a minor thing. And I liked how these other shows got appearances. But let's take a look at the two craziest ones. The Flash episode. That was probably I think it's the second best one, which involves Barry. No, it's going to try and complete the prophecy seen in since the first episode of the Flash vanishes, missing in Crisis, which initially was a reverse Flash fight, but changes to him, sacrificing himself to destroy the antimatter cannon, and with Abracadabra's reaction at the beginning of Season 7 saying that Barry is supposed to die. My best guess is that with the Paragon destroying the antimatter cannon, that either permanently cripples the antimatter and he loses control over Harbinger, and that leads to his defeat and Earth-1 remaining, or maybe something else, but I think that if Barry died, then Earth-1 likely would have lived, but the rest of the multiverse would have remained destroyed, and since they destroyed many properties that are still being used or about to be reused, including the Batman '89, the Snyderverse, or the DCEU, and, well, there's more, and the Titans universe, and Doom Patrol, and so much more was destroyed. They had to bring that back, so that's, I think, maybe the reason that Barry didn't die, because I think, based on, what he saw when going into the Speed Force, he knew that if he survived, Earth-1 would. So I think that's the main reason. And I had a story that he didn't die, besides the fact that they need to keep him alive for his show to continue. Although they technically could have had Wally West or someone else take on the mantle of the Flash, since it is the Flash and not Barry Allen. And there are other Flashes in the comics. Unlike, something with Batwoman where they have to make up a new character to replace the one who quit. But looking at it, honestly, yeah, I had a interesting time watching this. And this one was so good because Barry is willing to sacrifice, but also we have the characters working together to try and recruit the final Paragon. Ryan Joy, who, honestly, I feel like shouldn't have been done in this. I think that they could have found someone better, and I think it should have been John Diggle. Even if he didn't become Green Lantern, because I think the storyline we're doing now with that is fine. I think he should have been there for Oliver's final moments. And I would rather had him be the paragon of humanity, since, well, he is a great representation of humanity and how strong people could be, and does have faults, like him killing his brother. But I think that's one of the few things that would change. Oh, also that, and the Batman Beyond, Terry McGinnis being the paragon of courage instead of Kate Kane's Batwoman. But also things that I would change, but this is still a great crossover. Also, Black Lightning appearing was cool, and Oliver deciding to become the Spectre instead of returning to life was also very interesting to see. And the ending with, well, Lila turning out to be corrupted by the Anti-Monitor, killing the Monitor, and Earth 1 being destroyed was a nice twist, and I definitely remember waiting to see how this would finish, since there was nearly a month break between the Flash episode and the Arrow episode. And with Arrow, it was season 8, episode 8, I believe, instead of 9. This was a 10-episode season, and it was one back because they needed 2 more for Green Arrow, the Canaries, and Fadeout to happen, which of course I'll be reviewing in a few minutes. But the Arrow one was definitely the best of the crossover. Going back in time with the Speed Force to look at different key moments from Arrow, including the death of Sarah in season 3, where while Sarah was sent in the Speed Force. Wait, did all of them happen in season 3? No, one of them happened in season 4, because that's Invasion. Because there was also the one where Ray confronts Oliver in his office before he knows that Oliver is a, well, good person and responsible for what Rach did. Oh, and then Oliver is trapped in the events of Elseworld, so he could tell Barry what happened and how he sacrificed everything. And yeah, I think it would have been a little interesting if maybe the one with Kate was moved to an event in either season 2 or 1. But still, that worked well. And, well, just looking at the rest, what was right in the Flash episode, it was also cool to see Lex Luthor replace Superman, having the, what's it called, Book of Destiny change that, but I think a little more fun with Supergirl, so we could have had a fun interaction between Lex Luthor and Superman, and so we could have, a little more diverse multiversal cast, so it's not all from, the same 2 universes now. And although I think the, well, Tyler Hoechlin Superman from Earth 38 may have been even better, I think that, yeah, just for multiversal, diversity, that would have been another interesting way to do it. And then, of course, we would have had the Batman Beyond from, I think, Earth 98, like I would have wanted. And then John Diggle replacing Ryan Choi, because I think that would just been a better decision. I think those are the changes I kind of would have made. But let's go back to this. This episode was great, but also featured the rebirth of the multiverse and Oliver's final sacrifice. And I think this was really the best one. But looking at the final one, it was a really good, conclusion. I think that maybe they didn't need to have the Anti-Monitor in it, although I think it was necessary. I think it might have been good if this was just, a conclusion to this and them trying to adapt to the new world, but I get why they brought the Anti-Monitor back, because they needed a final confrontation for this. And well, Bebo, although it's great and glorious, Bebo wasn't going to be enough. And they're taking down the Anti-Monitor finally, and well, seemingly permanently. It was a great final victory, and finishing off what Oliver has started. That speech at the end was very good, with everyone watching upon the president's speech, thanking Oliver for, his sacrifice, and explaining everything to the people, besides the fact that, the multiverse was destroyed, and that they were all reborn by him. They just say that he saved the world, since they're just trying to keep things a little simple. But I really like that. I think Crisis had a very good conclusion. Now let's take a look at the Flash episode, because I think it takes place before the finale, since Dig is mentioning that he hasn't moved yet, and he does move in the Arrow finale, so, and that takes place, like right after the funeral, so we'll just say that takes place first, and with it, it was a okay episode. I think the Oliver and Dig stuff was the best part of it, and them trying to, Hubble and Dig trying to help Barry, except that it was just a gift from Oliver, and Barry kind of feeling guilty over it. But the rest of it, it's an okay storyline. And I'm really here just to talk about that, so I'm going to talk about the rest of it, with it just being, well, Mirror Master, Monarch, whatever they want to call her, set up. And yeah, that's really it for that episode. And the Greeter and the Canaries, that was a very nice kind of, well, both conclusion and setup for a potential show with, Mia and everything, and how Oliver went and changed many things for her for the better, so she wasn't living in the apocalyptic, well, such as apocalyptic Star City 2040, I think it's still, might be 2041, but that was still, pretty interesting to see. But I think that was a nice conclusion, and I kind of would have wanted to see that show, but it didn't happen, so she is still supposed to appear in next year's crossover, which will be interesting and I want to see. Finally, looking at Fadeout, this is one of Arrow's best episodes. It was such a nice conclusion to the show. It had a great, mainly like one shot for most of it, fight with Oliver taking it down some, henchmen in the past as a flashback. And the present stuff was great, with them finally, closing the book in the show. All the characters really, like all of the characters in the show getting a chance to finish off everything, and finally seeing stuff like, the characters he brought back, including Lance, Moira, Tommy, was so nice to see, and for them to return, although Laurel wasn't returned and kept. But it was still so cool to see all of that. And I'm really glad that we got that ending, and I think it was one of the best because of how, well, it was done, and with the Diggle giving the speech. And then I think, Barry should have definitely been there, although Kara was a little more, questionable. But I still think that she was fine being there. But Barry definitely being very close with Oliver, seeing him as a close friend. And really, I think that this was such a great way to end Crisis and, well, the story of Arrow. The last shot with Felicity, although I'm not personally a hater of the Oliver and Felicity relationship. I didn't mind it as much, but that's also because I wasn't a Green Arrow fan in the comics. So I'm not as more invested in the well, Black Canary and Green relationship. I think it was nice for them to end there, where it has reference to season 3 where Oliver first saw her. But with it, yeah, I think this was such a nice way for the show to end. The Green Lantern tease was also fun. That was continuing on to this season of the Arrowverse. And all that is a continuation of, this finale. I can't really mention it since the Supergirl episode hasn't aired yet. So we'd be talking about an incomplete, mini story arc. And I think with all of it, yeah, I had a lot of fun. I love Crisis, it's my favorite crossover. And I have purchased all the episodes so they could have them all together. And, well, I think that's really it. I just love this crossover. I think it's so fun, unique, and I love the dark ending to it. And the mid parts and Oliver's sacrifice and everything was amazing. This is one of my favorite, parts of the Arrowverse. And I think it's very hard to top. And it's definitely felt like, well, the Infinity War and Endgame of the Arrowverse, with parts 1 through 3 being Infinity War, and the final 2 being Endgame, with Oliver's sacrifice technically being like Iron Man's, but happening more in the midpoint of Endgame technically. And the midpoint of it would technically be their version of Endgame. But still, I really liked it. I think it was really fun, really enjoyable. As I said, my favorite crossover in the Arrowverse. But, well, honestly, I'm kind of surprised I already have my videos for this week. The ones that at least knew that could be scheduled done by now. It's like Friday night, and I usually have this done. Mainly maybe either being lazy or not having the time. Typically, I have my Thursday video done maybe by Monday night, Tuesday afternoon, maybe Wednesday afternoon at the latest. But I recorded my Shang-Chi review. I was like, I had the time, why not record this? And I really enjoyed it. And that's all I have to really say. So check out the content this week, and I'll see you all in the next episode of Legends and Theories. Thank you for watching this episode of Legends and Theories. Please subscribe, like the video, share the video, leave a comment, check out the video on screen, and may the Force be with you.